Yeah, my name's Deborah Monshin, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and past life regression therapist. I've been doing this for about 20 years.
Do you believe in reincarnation? If you believe, why?
I was brought up Church of England. I went to a Catholic convent school, and I've always had this fascination with what happens to you when you die.
Yeah.
It's just, I've always sort of had this feeling that there's more to everything, the universe and the whole lot. And one of the interesting things that happened to me when I was about 14, it was the first time I'd actually got a bus into our main city when I was growing up, which is Winchester in the UK. I was just walking down the high street, sort of away with the fairies. I quite often, sort of like la 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 la, walking down the street. And this monk came up to me with this book, and he just said, "Excuse me, you need to read this." And he handed me this book on reincarnation. I read it, and it was just sort of, when you have that feeling of knowing something. And as I read this book, it was just sort of things just started clicking into place. And I just sort of thought, this makes sense to me. I understand this. Whereas when I was very small and I went to Sunday school and all the religious teachings, it was sort of, to me, they were always just stories. They didn't really have any kind of deeper meaning to me. But when I read this book on reincarnation, it was like a penny had dropped. And I thought, yes, that is what makes sense to me. Yeah, and there was sort of this knowing that I already knew this information deep inside, and it was just like it was being awakened by the information in this book. So yeah, that was the start of the journey, really.
Can you give a brief idea of what exactly you got out from that book?
When you feel something or feel that you know something that nobody else around you understands or believes, you feel that maybe you're wrong or that you're kind of weird in some way. And when I read this book, and we can see the front cover in my eye now, it's really, really clear, but I can't for the life of me remember who wrote it. But you sort of feel that you're kind of odd or there's something wrong with you. But when I read this book, it was like, oh, my God, there's nothing wrong with me. Other people feel this way as well. Other people have this, they understand what I feel. They understand what I'm understanding. And the mechanics of it. This is your soul journey. You've learned this, and this. What do you want to learn next? And this is the incarnation that will suit that learning. So it was like the mechanics of how it actually worked.
Okay. So my next question to you is, do you really recall your past life?
It's very different than if you have like a past life memory. It's like a really, really strong, profound dream. It's so different. You know the difference between the past life memory and a really good dream, because it just resonates with you on such an emotional level like a normal dream wouldn't. And quite often when you're looking through it, you can sort of think, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me because I understand now why I think this or why I feel that or why I've always done this. And you can link it back to the past life experiences. And an accumulation of past life experiences can create issues in your current life. So when you start unraveling that, it becomes very obvious that it's just such a deep connection that it's not anything else.
And what was the process to get to know about your past life? Is there any set of process?
There's quite a lot of different ways. I mean, people who do meditation on a regular basis can quite easily just access a past life. I tend to, when I do my work, either on a one-to-one or in a workshop, we do sort of a guided meditation, do relaxation, guided meditation, and I create a sacred space somewhere in nature. So you're creating a special sacred place that people can visit and enter purely for the purpose of past life memory recall. And I think that's important to create that special space because it becomes totally different from any other work or spiritual work that you want to do. So your intention is already set that when you go to this place, you're going to be looking for past life information. So if you're already somebody who meditates on a regular basis, you can create that for yourself quite easily and then go into that special space. There's lots of apps, there's lots of meditations you can get on YouTube that will guide you through that process. And self-hypnosis is good. I mean, it's a very fine line between hypnosis and meditation. It's basically accessing that alternate state. I think if anybody wants to have a go, but isn't confident in doing it themselves, then doing a guided meditation either with somebody else or using one of the apps or a pre-recorded thing on YouTube is a really good way of doing it.
Can you tell me more about that place? You are saying that somehow is it imaginary places where people go and find out about the soul, or is it some physical place where people go and the kind of environment is there that people try to find out their life and in their subconscious mind? So can you tell me about that place which you are talking about, how this place is different from the any temple, church, or and how this meditation which you are talking about is different from the normal meditation? Like I am the person who do meditation. It's nothing but just sit down and calm down and just trying to understand the nature and all. So how this thing is different, because this is a different level to understand something which in beyond, like, it's in the past. Somehow we try to understand this life itself, and understanding the past life is like, I think, if there is something, then this whole different level or a whole different space. So what do you think on that?
The idea of creating, when you're doing a meditation, you're creating an imaginary sort of sacred space. So when you do a regular meditation, sort of quieting your mind and going within, once you start that process, your subconscious goes, oh yes, I know what we're doing today, we're doing this. So by imaginarily creating, I mean, the journey goes something like this. So you start off with your regular meditation, and then you would imagine your favorite place in nature. So whether that's a beach or a forest, you'd follow a pathway and you just use that journey through the pathway to just relax more. But you're focusing your intent on creating a different kind of journey. So during that journey, as you're going down the path, you go into a clearing and you create a sacred building. We always keep it, just call it like a sacred building, because it can be anything. And sometimes people are quite surprised at what they will create. They could have a teepee, they could have a stone temple, they could have a marble hallway, they could have a castle. It literally could be anything. And you just make it your own past life place that you go specifically for this. So you can create what you want in there. So then it's all visualization. So you just imagine yourself walking through the building, going down the stairway, just seeing the doorways, and just saying, you basically just set it up right. I'm going to go down into this hallway. There's going to be 10 doors, and I'm going to walk past the doors. And as I walk past the doors, I'm going to see one that I'm drawn to, and that will be the past life I need to look at today. And then you just pause outside that doorway and just say, when I step through this doorway, I will be entering a past life that is affecting me now. And you just walk in. So a lot of people sort of say, well, I'm not very visual. How would it work if I don't see things? And it's like, well, that's fine, because you can just imagine, what if? And quite often you might, if somebody isn't very visual to start with, they might get sort of sensations or feelings. You might go through a doorway and you'll stand there and you'll just feel, oh, I don't feel right here at all. I feel quite fearful here. What's going on? I feel really uncomfortable in this place. So you just go with the emotion. Why are you fearful? Look, sense around you. What's making you fearful? And you just get information. Things come to you. So you might get words. You might get bits of music. You may just get glimpses and flashes of things. You may just get sensations. I mean, one lady I had, she didn't see anything the entire time, and I was sort of trying to guide her forward, saying, okay, we'll go forward a bit, what happens next? And she could sort of say, well, I feel really cold. I don't know what it is, so I feel really, really cold. I'm not comfortable. I feel like I feel hungry. I haven't got any water. There's nothing around me, and I'm in this cold place I can't get out of. So, okay, right. And we went through the journey, and it turned out that she was actually blind and had been thrown in the cellar somewhere in medieval Europe and just left to die, basically, for doing something like stealing a loaf of bread or something like that,
Okay, my next question. I really like this, it's so imaginative. It's like I can imagine. Somehow we used to do in theater, same kind of thing, where we was supposed to imagine something, where narrator would be speaking something and doing some breathing exercises, and after that the person would ask us to imagine certain things. For example, if you are an animal and you are animal and walking in the desert, suddenly you came into the ocean or something, then you found a house where nobody is there. So it's kind of I don't know whether it's related to that, but somehow we used to feel very calm after that, very alive at that particular moment. And after that, we used to practice of our character. Somehow we were trying to detach. For For example, if I'm playing a old person, so then I have to detach with Vijay first. So that was the detaching process for me. Is this related? Do you think is kind of related to that?
Definitely, it's taking you out of the here and now and putting you in a zone where you're more open to being aware of other things around you. Definitely, yeah. It's that separation of the conscious and the subconscious mind. Yeah.
Is it one day process or takes month or it depend on the person?
No, I mean, the sessions I do, the one-to-one sessions I do with people are 2 hours, and even if you've had somebody that has never done anything like it before, there's like a 95% chance that they're going to get in there and get at least one past life experience in that 2 hour process. So, but I mean, the more you do it, the easier it's going to be every time. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the things that puts people off anything like meditation is you kind of think, gosh, it's a lifetime thing. I'm going to have to spend 30 years doing it before I get it right. Whereas it's more a case of just allowing. You're not doing, you're allowing. So it's about learning how to just relax and allow stuff to come. But with more practice, you're more able to just let go and go with the process. And it's trusting. It's trusting yourself. It's trusting that you're going to be safe within that process.
I have a curiosity, like, do all people take birth again? And why people take rebirth?
No, everybody does. Yeah, like we were saying, you get new souls being born all the time. So people that have incarnated now may be their first incarnation, but by the time you're into a lot of spiritual work, then it's like I was saying about, you come across something like I did with that book, and it just awakens a knowing of what was already there. And I think that's a lot of people that get that. And if you get that about anything that's spiritual, then it's a good indication you've been here before, because it's familiar. The idea of reincarnation is to experience everything there is to experience in a physical body, on the physical reality, on the physical plane. So once you've accumulated as many lifetimes as you need to experience everything, you then have a choice. I remember about 3 months ago, I regressed a lady who knew that this lifetime she was having now will be her last incarnation on Earth. And it was quite interesting, because usually when you do regression, you take people through the past life, into the death experience, after death experience, they go up into spirit, and they either talk to their spirit guides or their God or their ancestors or whatever, and then they kind of say, okay, well, what do you need to learn next? What do you need to learn in your next lifetime? And they're like, oh yes, I need to learn about truth or honesty or love or something. And then I'm quite happy with that, and off you go. And this lady said, no, this is my last lifetime on Earth. I don't need to come back again. I'm going to stay in spirit. So I said, okay, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in spirit? I'm actually going to be a guide. I'm going to be a spirit guide for some other people. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. So she'd obviously been around a long time. She was a very old soul, but she'd got to the point now where she'd experienced everything she needed to for the development of her soul.
Like, we take rebirth because there is something which is left to learn. If I'm not in this, what I might take out with discussion is, correct me if I'm wrong, if in this universe I born again to learn, let's say, to love, maybe in my past life I didn't get love, or I was not good in how to love somebody, to understand that maybe I am born. Is that you are trying to tell?
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of take on it. Yeah, I mean, it's like having a massive checklist of all your experiences. You think, okay, yep, I've learned humility, I've learned poverty, I've learned what it's like to be rich and arrogant, tick, 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 tick. And then you're looking for other things. So yeah, you can say, right, okay, I want to understand, I want to experience a lifetime about love. I need to understand what love is. Okay, brilliant. So you will then choose the family or the environment that you need to be born into in order to experience what you've chosen to experience. I mean, it doesn't always work. You might have a lifetime where it all goes horribly wrong and you don't fulfill that quest, if you like, in which case you'll come back again in a different situation to learn that lesson again. And once you've done that, tick the box, right, okay, what's next? So it is like a perpetual cycle of learning. an understanding in each lifetime you have. I mean, the interesting thing is when you go through the death experience and into spirit, and you can see the overview of that life, you can see it from a whole different perspective, and you say, okay, what was the most important thing in that lifetime? And it is never money, wealth, things. It's always love, family, humility, all really important things for humanity that need compassion, all are really important things in life.
As you said, as a spirit, I have power to choose the family. Let's say I want to learn about love. I'll take birth in such family where I'll get lots of love from people, family.
Not necessarily. This is where it gets really complicated, because you think of people who end up in families that are quite abusive or harmful or toxic. They're like, I chose that? Really? Are you serious? Okay. Before you incarnate, you've got a soul group. So there's members of you've got a soul group, and there's lots of people in that soul group that you incarnate with regularly. So like your parents, your siblings, your best friend, you've probably incarnated with them over and over and over, but in different relationship formats. Like your dad could have been your sister last time, or your sister could have been, I don't know, your aunt. For example, you could incarnate into a family. So if you wanted to learn love, you could incarnate into a family that wasn't particularly loving towards you, but they were in the right place, in the right time, and you incarnated into that family because you needed to live in that village and go to that school to meet the love of your life. So it's not always straightforward. Sometimes it is, but not always.
My next question is, then again, there is one statement on your website itself that who you are now is a combination of all those lifetime experiences, both good and bad. Can you tell me about this?
Yeah, I mean, everything, like who you are today. I mean, a lot of people believe just in nature and nurture, it's like where you're born into, how you're cared for, and your sort of natural instincts. And it's like, but they don't factor in the account of your past lives. So even things like your phobias, whether you like, whether you like peaches and hate pears, lots of that sort of thing can come. If you've always, the standard thing is like, if you've always felt this, or always hated this, or always loved this, or always had a problem with this, then those are indicators that there have been past life issues that have come forward for you. So anything like addictions, anything that strongly affects you emotionally, physically, or mentally are good indicators that it's something that you've brought with you. So in your incarnation now, everybody's got a light side and a dark side. They've got the best of themselves, and they've got the shadow side that they don't want to look at. So everything you've experienced in all of your lifetimes has affected you positively and negatively. So that's all bound up in who you are now. Say if you've always had an issue with food ever since you were very, very small, that is probably an indicator that you've had lifetimes where you've been in starvation situations in previous lifetimes. So in this lifetime, you will eat whenever you can get it, and you eat more than you need, because it's you feel fundamentally, and quite often even subconsciously, that you don't feel safe unless you've had a lot of food. So that's an example of how that can affect you now in this lifetime.
Okay, another question is, when we talk about the past life, when we talk about knowing our past life, how much we can get to know about past life? Is it something about why we are here, or is it something that I can get to know about people who were in my past life, where they are in present life? Because there is an example. There are thousands of stories where people took the birth again, and they recognize their past life people, and they visited on those places and find out that maybe, let's say, there was one woman who identify his husband, she identify her daughter, and now she's like 5 years old kid, but she knows everything about the past. So how much a person could get to know about the past life?
Yes. What was his name? There was a chap years ago called, was it Dr. Ian Stevenson, who did work in India with families?
Yes,
and it was an absolute famous case of that young lad who remembered his past life, and he insisted he lived in this different place. And I think the family took him back to this place, and he was about 4 or 5, and spoke to this elderly woman, and she was absolutely adamant that this was her husband reincarnated as this young boy. And absolutely, I mean, children have those past life memories as standard. They kind of remember a lot, and it's just fascinating. It's just brilliant how much children learn, but know and remember. But as soon as they get into the education system, that's it. It goes. It just kind of, they just lose the memories. But when you're deliberately doing a regression, one or two things. You could go into a regression saying, I want to find out why I have issues with food, for example. But your subconscious might go, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. But actually, now I've got you here, this is what you need to know. And it will show you something that you need to know right now. And one of the things I think is very important is when you're doing a regression is whenever you see anybody else in that past life, whether it's your spouse or people in the marketplace when you're doing your shopping, is to talk to them like you would now, because that is absolutely critical to finding out who these people are and whether you know them now, because a lot of relationship dynamics can go back to past life, having a past life experience with somebody. So yeah, I mean, you can find out as much as you need to know. Some people sort of will say, yes, okay, I'm married to this man. Oh yes, I know him. Yeah, I've been married to him in numerous lifetimes. And you think, oh, okay. Do you know him now? Oh yes, it's my daughter this time. So there's a definite break, and she's the child, and it can definitely help understand relationship issues. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, anybody can get to know about their past life. It's just a process they need to follow.
Yeah, and I think it's the most important thing is you get some people that absolutely, oh, I definitely want to do this. I definitely want to know it, but they don't get there because they kind of want it too much. They're trying too hard, if you like. So it's all about just allowing, trusting yourself, trusting the process, and just allowing any information to come up. Because any information we're given, we try and analyze it, don't we, all the time? Oh, what's this? Is this real? Does this mean this? Does this mean that? And it's just like, no, just stop. Just accept whatever information you're getting, because you can sort it out afterwards. So it's just absolutely trusting the process and trusting yourself as well, that you're going to be shown something that's relevant. The other thing I think people fear a lot is the death experience. People, oh no, I don't want to go through the death experience. It's not like you're reliving it again. It's just a memory of it. So it can be a bit emotional if you're going through the death experience. I mean, some even just going through a past life can be quite emotional, not so much because of what's actually happening to you, but you really feel those connections with people that you've had before, and that can be quite emotional. But going through the death experience is absolutely a crucial part of the whole past life experience, because you get a much better understanding of what that lifetime is about. You get a much bigger understanding of the spirit world and how it works, how it functions, and the purpose of the reincarnation process. And the main thing it does is it actually reduces the fear of death that people have in their current lifetime, which I think is absolutely amazing.
This question is a little from science side. If soul never died, then where was the soul at the time of Big Bang?
No idea. I think it's become obvious, like quantum physics and everything, is the acknowledgement that everything is energy. Everything is made of energy. So energy doesn't die, it just changes form. So if everything is all energy, all that's happened over the last, I don't know, millions and millions of years is that energy is taking form in different shapes and forms and varieties. So if everything has already existed forever as energy, then so is soul. So maybe maybe it was in a different form at a different time. Who knows? It's one of those, isn't it?
Maybe in different form. But even now, universe is expanding. So what do you think about astral projection? Is it somehow related to this reincarnation?
In my understanding of it, it's more of like an out of body experience. Particularly, I used to do a lot of it at night time. I mean, you can go off and astral travel and do a lot of work on the different astral levels at night. That's quite common. I mean, I've been waking up exhausted every morning, even though I've had like 8-9 hours sleep, and I know from about 15 years ago that I'm off somewhere at night doing spiritual work or whatever somewhere. I suppose really, yeah. I mean, if you think of everything's accessible, every level of consciousness and everything's accessible. So if you're astral projecting and leaving your body, you can go anywhere you want. So why not visit your past lives? It's not something I've had experience of doing astral projection in the past life. But logically, there's no reason why you couldn't. I don't know anybody personally that's done past life exploration through astral projection, but yeah, I'd be very interested to talk to anybody that has. Yeah, fascinating.
People who are in India or outside the UK, how can any individual get to know about the past life? Like, I want to know about past life currently, let's say, and I'm not accessible to you right now. Like, so what should I do?
The best thing you can do really is just read everything you can. I mean, it's not. You could interview somebody else tomorrow about it who's been doing it as long as I have, and they will have a completely different mindset on it. It's the main. If you want to do a regression with a person as opposed to through an app or a YouTube thing, the best thing to do is read up on them and just maybe have a chat with them. You've got to find the right person that you gel with to do it. So if somebody you're talking to, you sort of feel they're on the same wavelength as you, that's the person to sort of do anything with. But I mean, there's so much literature out there. There's so many books out there. It's just read everything you can, get to grips with everything you can, and just play around with apps and things and find out what's right for you. I mean, if you do a lot of meditation, then just do the journey that I suggested at the beginning. Just try it and see.
So I can try it by myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without any expert.
No, absolutely. Yeah, everybody can do it by themselves. It's just trusting that you can. I think people just feel more confident having somebody guide them through it.
Okay.
But yeah, give it a go.
Do you believe in God? God?
Personally, no. I don't believe in the Christian kind of concept of Godhead figure. I don't at all. I believe there's something bigger than us, but I don't think it's an entity of any kind. No. Personally, I think that any thing or religion that has a set of rules that you've got to follow isn't working for your own benefit as a human. I think it stifles your capacity as for spiritual growth, but that's just my take on it.
It's very two different things. Like, I met lots of people who believe in reincarnation but believe in the God also.
It's like you get some people who say, oh well, you can't possibly believe in that if you don't believe in God, or you can't believe in this unless you believe in that. I'm sorry, you can believe whatever you want, and none of it is just for God, just for Buddha. None of it's that. It's bigger than labels. It's bigger than boxes. Every human being has the capacity to tap into whatever they want. I think you don't need the God concept to connect with spirit. You have that connection. Every human being has that ability to connect.
Is there any connection between the God and the spirit?
I mean, it depends. I mean, religion is such a thing, isn't it? I mean, if you speak to some people, they say that God is spirit, because there's so many different varieties and variations of what people believe, even within one religion, that I think it just gets in the way. If you're doing any kind of spiritual work, if you go by their rules and regulations, you're going to be stifled. So I just like to keep religion out of it, and just kind of, because everybody thinks something differently anyway.
So what percentage of my present life decided by my past life?
Only the things that you decided that you wanted to learn when you come in, because you have free will. So say if you want to, I mean, every decision you make is based on free will. So you could be completely off your path, if you like. If you came in to say, I want to learn about, well, say, go back to the love thing. I want to go and learn about love. You could completely go off that path because of your experiences that you have in your lifetime. Each experience is sort of like can give you this way or that way. It gives you a choice. So each time you make a choice, you're kind of moving along. Having said that, there's no wrong choices to make in your life, because every choice will give you an experience, either positive or negative. And what it's about is whether you're learning from that experience.
With our discussion, we can conclude that, like, when I am taking birth in particular family, that's the choice which I'm taking at that particular time. After that, whatever choices I'm taking, that is in my present life, not affected by past. Is it something?
It can. I mean, it depends. I mean, I think the indicators of a past life affecting you are going to be things like a fear, say a fear or a phobia that you've had always, that you cannot find a reason for in this lifetime. Addictions, really severe addictions. are usually an accumulation of past life stuff that has been brought into the, like, this life is kind of the tipping point. If anybody's got a really severe addiction, the odds are it goes back to past life trauma. So it's really things that anything that affects you deeply, emotionally or mentally, can be tied to a past life, and that's why it's a good idea to go and have a look at it and find out what that's about.
But there are things like, for example, why do we care about what people think? We care a lot about what people think about us. 99% people care about it. Whether we say it, we should not care about it, we always give this theory to people that you should never care about people. But somehow this thought process, which everybody have, don't you think is a part of evolution?
Definitely. I mean, it's social conditioning, a lot of it, but also it goes back to when we lived in tribes, and we lived in tribes to be safe. And being accepted within the tribe was vital for your survival. And that's basically, I think, what that goes back to. Yeah, definitely. So, and that's a very powerful thing, to feel included. If you feel included, you feel safe. And of course, if there's something different about you, you feel excluded, and you feel isolated, and you feel vulnerable. So yeah, it's definitely that. Yeah.
And now I think how much I care about people, it can depend on my past life. Because in general, everybody will have fear of rejection today, but how much that depend on my past life, or whatever the consequences or whatever things which happened in my past life can affect how much I am affected today. Maybe one person is not much affected, another person is affected, but we are same human being who we came from same evolution.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you find it a lot you find it over here, because anything like reincarnation and stuff like that is getting more of a foothold. But you still get very funny looks about, you say what you do, like, really, what's that? Same as hypnosis. And you still find that you're very careful about who you talk to about this kind of thing. So it's definitely, that would definitely have an impact. Yeah.
Okay, my last question to you is, Deborah, can you give me some example of people's life which are helped by you by the past life regression?
Yeah, I've got a really, really good one, which was very, very profound for a woman that helped her with an ongoing stomach problem that she'd had for 25 years. When I met her and did her regression, she was in her early 50s. And since she was 25, she'd had horrendous problems with her stomach, the whole lot, the bowel, the whole thing. And she'd been through all the medical tests you could think of. She'd been on all the medications you could think of. She tried all the alternative stuff she could think of, and it just, nothing was working. It was a massive problem. So we did a past life regression, and she went back to a period in Tudor England, and she was involved in a group who wanted to bring down King Henry VIII. And they used to meet up in secret, and they were planning basically sort of like a bit like a gunpowder plot, but not quite. They wanted to get rid of him. They wanted to create a fuss, bring him down. And what happened was, her friends had decided that they were going to do an assassination plot. And she wasn't happy with this. She was like, no, this is too, right. Sorry, I say she, but she was obviously a male in that past Tudor life. Wasn't happy with this assassination plot. No, step too far. Quite happy to sort of do other things, but didn't want to take that step to actually assassinating or trying to assassinate the king. So what happened was that the friends basically sort of thought, no, we can't trust him anymore. He's not with us on this. We were really worried that he was going to sort of, dump them in it and report them. So they got there first and actually reported, I'm going to say her, it's easier, reported her as being the leader of this plot. And the next thing she knew, she was arrested, dragged out of bed in the middle of the night, arrested, taken to the Tower of London, slung in the dungeons, tortured till she confessed to being in charge of this plot, this assassination plot, and then was hung, drawn, and quartered. Exceedingly unpleasant. They hang you till you're nearly dead, but not quite. So this is the lifetime she had. And what was very interesting, you think, oh gosh, there's probably not a worse way to die than that. And when we went through the death experience, it wasn't the memory of that physically very painful death that was the issue. The issues were that the trust. Her friends gave her up. Basically, they lied about her. They gave her up a bit. There was no sense of justice. There was no trial. I mean, if you're being tortured, you're going to admit to anything. So it wasn't a fair trial. And all of these things were sort of impacting her current life. She's never trusted authority. She doesn't trust anybody, not even her husband, who she'd been married to for like 40 years. You know, there's still this very ingrained fear of trust, a fear of you know, being vulnerable, I suppose, with people. But the amazing thing was, when we came through this process, I spoke to her a week later, and she'd never had any of the stomach problems again since. You know, so after 25 years of having this really severe stomach issue, it's gone since she'd done the regression. So that memory of that traumatic lifetime, not only the traumatic death, had actually created the physical problem in this lifetime.
But I think it's really, really nice to discuss with you. I have lots of other questions, but I think we don't have much time. Really, really beautiful to have a discussion with you. Really nice.